Hello everyone, this is Larone Koonce and I'm on the Stoop. Today I'm going to give the second update of the Norman Seabrook trial. Today is day 9, Thursday, November 2nd. Today started with a continuation of the cross-examination of the government's key witness, Jonah Resnick. The defense lawyer, Seabrook's lawyer, his name is Sheckman, he had a picture that he didn't show us, didn't show the jury, but it's a picture of Jonah Resnick dressed in blackface. It appears that there is a Jewish holiday called Purim. I may be pronouncing it wrong, but it's a Jewish holiday and it's similar to Halloween from what they explained. And he chose to dress up in blackface. The first question that the lawyer had for him was, do you know what blackface is? And he sweared up and down that he doesn't even know what that term means. That he doesn't know what blackface means. So when the lawyer explains it to him, and then the lawyer asks him, do you know that this is offensive to African Americans? And he's like, no, I didn't know that was offensive. I'm just finding out this out right at this very moment. I had no idea. I would never want to be offensive or anything like that. And you know, everybody's in disbelief. The lawyer's like, you don't realize that you don't know what blackface is, and you don't realize that this is offensive to black people to dress up in blackface, you know. And I think he had gold teeth also, and he thinks that this is funny, or this is something that you do on this holiday. This man, Jonah Resnick, is 34 years old. Okay, this is relevant because this picture that they have of him dressed in blackface is from 4 years ago. So this man was 30 years old, walking around in a costume with his face painted black, and is trying to convince the jury that he did not know that this is offensive. In 2017, this is offensive. He didn't know. No one told him. So after they rake him over the coals for that, then they rest their cross-examination. The prosecution, the government lawyers, come back and try to, I guess, rehabilitate Jonah Resnick's image. And so they start asking him about his upbringing. Come to find out that he came up in a wealthy family and he only went to private Jewish schools, yeshivas and things like that. And he had no other black people in his class. He never took a black history course. So he is very ignorant in matters relating to African American people. That's what he wanted to convince the jury of. And so after this charade ended, then the lawyer, Huberfeld's lawyer, who is Jewish as well, got up and said, they do have black history classes. They have classes in the yeshiva that go over the history of the civil rights movement. And then he reminded him that he lives in New York now, where there's a lot of diversity, and he comes in contact with a lot of black people. And he also mentioned that you grew up in California, Los Angeles. Los Angeles is a very diverse community as well. So there's no reason for us to believe that you don't know what the ramifications or the significance of a person wearing blackface is in 2017. So that's how the day began, you know. So, you know, the lawyers went back and forth, you know, and I guess the prosecution did their best to try to explain some of the schemes that Resnick had been engaging in that they had talked about yesterday. So the prosecution was trying to explain, or have him explain, more of how it wasn't as bad as we thought it was, if that's even possible. But that's what they tried to do. I don't think they accomplished that, but it's not up to me, it's up to the jury. Before I leave this point about the racial insensitivity, they say he also is on tape using the word swatza. Now, I had heard this word before. I don't know what it means, but it means black. And it's some sort of derogatory term as relates to black people. And I think that he used that term in relations to Barack Obama. But they really didn't get too far into it because it was starting to get real heated with the lawyer, and so the lawyer just backed away and just left it like it was. But the point was made that this guy potentially has a problem, has a racial, problem. And this is significant because there's 6 African Americans on the jury. There's 6 African Americans on the jury. I mean, the jury has 15 people in the jury booth. I don't know which ones are the jurors and which ones are the alternates, but there's 15. And 6 are African American. I think 3 are Hispanic. You have Asian, you have white. You have a multicultural jury. It's like the Rainbow Coalition going on up here, you know what I'm saying? But it's cool, it's real cool. So being that I'm on race for a minute, thanks to Jonah, the lead lawyer for the prosecution is also African American. The lead government lawyer for the prosecution is African American, as well as the judge. The judge is an African American male, as well as they're both males. So I just want to put that out there so you know. Also, what happened today? All right, after this cross and recross and of Jonah Resnick, they dismissed him, and they brought on a series after lunch. They brought on a series of FBI agents, and they introduced a lot of information into the record. They called in the FBI agents who searched Seabrook's home. They had photos of the home. They explained the warrant, which they were there to find Ferragamo bag, shoes, and things like that. Any types of records concerning money, receipts, or anything like that. So they had the pictures of his home, which I know was probably embarrassing for him. I mean, it's not like his home was bad or anything, but just to have someone show pictures of your home and your closet and things like that, I'm sure that it's embarrassing, but that's what happens when you get caught up in these things, I guess. They showed the Ferragamo bag that was hanging on the doorknob of the closet. So they had that photo. And they also brought in, concerning the Ferragamo bag, they also brought in the director of security from Ferragamo to identify the bag. And they matched the bag up with the purchase that Jonah Resnick made on December 11th, 2014. So they verified that this is the same bag that was purchased. At least they spoke about that. I still have questions about that, but the defense didn't object. So I guess it's true that this is the same bag that was given to Seabrook by Jonah. They also, like I said, they took pictures of his closet where he has a safe. They also found money in his closet. They found, I think it was about $21,000 in cash. They didn't really talk about these things yet today. They just introduced it into evidence. They had the FBI agents, special agents that came in, and they said what their duties were and where they found the items. They found the bag. They found 9 pair of Ferragamo shoes. They took the photos. They had them in court today. They had the bag in court today. They also had $21,000 in court today. From what I could see, it was $100 bills. They had a stack of $100 bills in his closet that had the band around them, and they said that was about $6,000, and then the rest of the cash was in the safe. And it was $100 bills. They had it spread out because they counted it, I guess. I don't know whether it was in bands. When they found it, it was in envelopes, but I guess they'll explain that tomorrow. They also took photos of his van. He has an SUV, and they matched the license plate. They placed his vehicle in Manhattan at the time where they say that he was supposed to be picking up the money. They really didn't go into a lot about that. They just introduced it into evidence. They also found receipts in his house. Excuse me, something's in my eye. They also found receipts in his house from the casino, Mohegan Sun. Now, like I said, they just showed us this stuff. They really didn't explain it. They had it on the screen for a while, so I can't really be certain as to what the receipts were about. They were showing money that he had borrowed from Mohegan Sun and paid back. So they showed that. They have a list of those, and then they brought on someone from the finance department from Mohegan Sun to explain what a marker is and explain the receipts that we saw. So from what I was able to gather, a marker is a loan. The casino loans you money, and it's no interest, and it's for a certain amount of time based on how much you borrow. The more you borrow, the more time you get to pay. And they had these receipts from when Seabrook paid back money that he had borrowed from the casino. So that totaled around $20-something thousand. Okay, so they had the $21,000 in cash, and then they have receipts of him paying in cash these markers, 3 markers, and it totaled like about $21,000. So, like I said, they didn't explain it. They didn't make the connection like, okay, this is the money that he got from Resnick on this particular date, and he went and paid. No, they didn't do that. They just introduced all this into evidence. They showed it to the jury, and they had the FBI agents, the Ferragamo security person, as well as the Mohegan Sun finance person, just verify that this is legit and this is how they keep track of things, and that's pretty much what they did. Now it's time for a little commentary. To me, they still haven't proven that it's his money. Now, let me back up. The significance of the $100 bills. All this money is in $100 bills. Jonah Resnick said that he paid Seabrook in $100 bills. So I guess that's the connection they're probably going to make at some point. There's one other thing that I wanted to talk about. I can't remember right now, but it'll come to me. But this is, it's going to have to, they have a lot of explaining to do. The federal government has a lot of explaining to do to try to tie this. Okay, I remember what I was going to say. All right. They searched Seabrook's house in June of 2016. Jonah Resnick says that he gave the money to Seabrook on December 11th, 2014. So they searched his house 18 months after he had received the money. So it's going to be kind of difficult for them to convince the jury, I think, that, first of all, this is the same money 18 months later. Because people have the right to have money in their home. I mean, I don't know. But I don't know whether they have serial numbers. I don't know what they're going to do with that information, but they have it. But I just wanted to bring that point out that it's 18 months after he is supposedly had received the money. So let me see if I have some notes today, you know. So let me just look through my notes before I wrap up. I think I have everything covered. A little bit more about the casino thing. They also had records that they introduced about Seabrook's gambling, because I don't gamble, you know, so I don't really know all the details on how this works, but there's evidently a card that you use when you gamble in a casino, which keeps track of all your bets and your wins and your losses, because some people want that printed out at the end of the year for tax purposes. That's what they explain. So they have the record of Seabrook's wins and losses at the hotel, at the casino. So they didn't really get into that, but they noted that on the days that he paid his payments, 3 payments totaling $21,000 for the loans that he had that were outstanding, they noted that he had not gambled those days, that he just paid the money. And the person from Mohegan Sun said, well, he could have came to have dinner, or he could have came to a show or something like that. We don't have any record of him gambling that day. And then one of the lawyers from Seabrook's side asked the Mohegan Sun person if a person gambles but they don't have, they don't use the card, they just gamble, like, you know, without the card, is a record kept of their wins and losses, or that whether they gambled that day, and they said no. So that's pretty much how it went today. Tomorrow they said that they're going to bring 3 people from the COBA in. They were talking amongst themselves, the lawyers and the judge and everything, so we couldn't really hear much about who it's going to be. I mean, they mentioned a few names, but I mean, I've been retired for 12 years. These names, I don't really know who they are. So I assume that one of them is going to be the COBA treasurer. I mean, that would be the logical person to bring in at this point. But they said they're going to have 3 people from the COBA coming in tomorrow. So if you wanted to come, tomorrow would probably be the day to come if you're a correction officer and you really want to get some insight on what's going on with those payments. It's the courthouse is the Thurgood Marshall Courthouse. It's 40 Foley Square in Manhattan, right down the block from Police Plaza. We're on the 13th floor, but if you come into the building and you ask any of the people at the security desk where the Seabrook trial is, and they'll tell you right off. So with that said, thanks for watching. Thanks for the responses to the video that I put out yesterday. And I guess I'll be doing this tomorrow, so I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you, and peace.